That intro is so dramatic. I feel we need to make like a dramatic entrance every time I hear that. Like,
I'm here.
We're here. No, but this episode I've been looking forward to.
I like this. I'm excited.
Like this one, like I think I can go on forever. Like talking about it. Hi everyone who's locked in on YouTube and on Twitch. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Hi to everyone that will be watching this afterwards. Hello, kamusta? Hey. That was 3 languages. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this one. Yeah, we're talking true crime today, and I think the coolest thing about it is it's Filipino true crime.
It's something different. I don't think anyone's like explored it.
Yeah, and the way it's been explored by our guest, I think it's very different, and she's done it very well.
And she's got such a soothing voice.
Yeah, I know. Like I want to have that like voice.
It's like a teacher voice.
Yeah, it's like a teacher voice, and it's like, you know, that you can just listen to it all day long. You guys will see. You'll see what we're talking about when she joins us here. But yeah, so a quick intro of who we are. My name's Tanya. I run a page on Instagram called Hugatero Diaries, where I have where I post quotes, motivational quotes, inspirational quotes, and Hugot quotes. So, and yeah, and then we've got. Did I do it right? No, never did it right.
The plant. Where's your plant?
My plant isn't here anymore, so the curtain.
Okay, towards the curtain.
Yeah.
So I am Buhay Taglish, aka Sam. I do have Plush Jake. Normally my son rolls in the stream. He's our muse. I run Buhay Taglish on Instagram, Facebook. I technically talk about Filipino words like that people could use in their day-to-day lives, food that's available in London, books at the moment, just children's books. I'm just reviewing them, showing people what's out there, the literature, what's available, and Filipino-owned products, companies. So I post that every now and then. But yeah, and then I've joined forces with Hugot, and we are now Sira Sira.
Sira Sira. So welcome. Oh, and I want to thank our previous guest, Denny, who gifted us with the book that we promoted in the last episode. I can't pronounce it in
Bisaya.
Bisaya. Harriet Pat and her hat, right? Yeah. I'm sure Buhay Taglish will post about that very soon.
Yep, I will be reviewing that at some point.
Well, I think now it's time to introduce our guest. As we said earlier, our guest is the host of a podcast. It's called Lagim, a Filipino true crime podcast. So let's introduce to you Christine Abrigana.
Hi. It's so weird. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. So, we've got some. Oh, that's your brother, Sam.
Yes, my brother, my younger brother.
Hi, Bong. So yeah, people will be popping in every now and then and saying hi. So we'll.
I see it now.
Give everyone a little.
That's amazing. Okay.
So we'll give people a little shout out. Thanks for joining us, Christine. Hi, Coy.
Thank you for having me. Hi there.
We have Spain in the house.
Spain.
Oh, very international. Love it.
Yep. So for everyone that just joined us, this is Christine Abrigana. She is the host of Lagim, a Filipino true crime podcast. As I said, we've been very excited for this episode. I myself, I'm a true crime geek. Like if you see my Netflix, everything is like on my list. And on my YouTube, I watch like, all these random documentaries, those American cheesy, those cheesy ones.
Yeah.
Like it just pops up because I've watched like
The
something.
algorithm has figured you out. Yeah.
And my husband's like, what is this? Someone murdered who? And like, every time I talk about something like, he was talking about installing an air conditioner. And then, you have to install air conditioner, you have to have your window, because it's not like in the Philippines, you have it installed on the wall and everything, but it's just one of those ones. And then you have to put it like by your window.
Yeah.
So you have to have like a gap. And then I was like, no, we can't have that because there's a balcony next door and then someone will jump into that balcony and they'll be able to get into our window. He's like, you watch too much.
Exactly. That's what happens when you watch a lot of true crime. You become very, very aware of things.
And I'm like, no, we can't have it there. I was like, we have to move it to, if you're going to have it, it has to be the window furthest away and no one can climb up. There's no...
See, it makes you a planner for your safety.
Exactly.
I'm all for it.
No, it's but I'm so obsessed, and like all these I'm so happy when Netflix comes out with all these new type of true crime series, and HBO.
I wish we had HBO. I mean, I think we have Sky TV here, but you have to pay so much. So I missed out on a lot, but I'm seriously considering like
you should. There's some good ones in HBO.
Maybe I'll ditch Disney
them.
Plus.
Yeah.
They'll ditch Disney Plus. They're not giving me a lot these days.
Yeah.
And just go with HBO because they offer a lot, and I follow their Instagram as well, and I follow a lot of the documentarians, the directors and producers that they hire to make all these true crime documentaries. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm almost like a fangirl. Like, oh yeah, I know that one. He's the guy who made this one, and that's the girl who hosted that one. Like, shame I don't have HBO. So yeah, I might be ditching Disney Plus. So watch out, Disney.
No, there's some good true crime stuff on there. I don't know if maybe you've been able to watch them anywhere else, but there's some good ones recently.
Some of them do get acquired by I think Amazon, and then I'm very thankful that they get acquired by Prime, but not all of them. Like the juiciest ones do not get acquired. I'm like, why?
Because there's one about the Golden State Killer.
Yes,
that one. That was the one that's based on the book.
Yes.
But
what was
Michelle
McNamara?
Michelle McNamara.
Yeah.
That's it. That one.
Yeah,
that one was really good.
I wanted to read the book first and then watch it, but I'm too impatient and my ADHD just kicks up. Like, no, I think I'm just gonna if it becomes available on Prime, I'm definitely gonna purchase it because you can purchase individual movies or rent them individually. So I'm looking out for that one. It's definitely sort of on my watch list. So watch out.
That's one I'm gonna recommend. That I recommend actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one, and what a journey.
Well, sorry. Yeah.
I'm not into the old ones. If it ain't murder, diagnosis murder, I don't want to know.
Or those. What about CSI? Is that too new for you?
That's too new for me. I actually binge on Poirot. I'll be like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, how could you not like Poirot? I was like, I love Agatha Christie stuff.
Yeah, the old school stuff. Yeah,
that is good. Like the old school stuff. I do love. Murder She Wrote is always something I can watch. She's just like
I love a little bit of Columbo. Like, don't judge me.
Yeah. That's my.
What's the other one? The Diagnosis Murder.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We are reaching out we're reaching out for those very old ones.
Yeah, we're
almost forgot those.
Van Dyke and his son.
Oh goodness.
Exactly. Those ones. They actually show that here, like when late at night.
Really?
It's just like that and Murder She Wrote is always on. Like when I can't sleep, I put it on. Yeah.
You,
I
you
know that
come
in
for
Germany they
school.
love Columbo, so they show it late in the evening. And when I can't, I remember being a high school student there and just like, oh, I can't sleep, so I think I'm just gonna watch some Columbo. Like, this is insane. Like how they did things. Like, a lot of things didn't make sense, but it's entertaining, so why not? Yeah.
I still find those old school ones like
Definitely.
really
Really, really
entertaining.
good.
But yeah. Oh, but I think I wanna start with like with getting to know you, Christine.
Sure.
Like a bit about your background. Like, so you're based in the UK, but can you tell us more about like where you grew up?
Yeah, so I'm currently based in the UK, but I was born in Germany. Spent the first 6 years of my life in Germany. And when my parents separated and then eventually divorced, my mom took me back to the Philippines, where I then spent sort of a decade of my life, my formative years, basically, until I graduated from 10th grade or fourth year high school. And I would have stayed, but at that point, my mom was like, "I don't think I can afford to send you to college. Her business was not doing well." And she said, "Well, your dad is offering to sort of pay a ticket for you to go to Germany. Maybe you're interested in going to uni there or learn something, just get a college education in Germany." And at that point, I was ready to sort of break free, leave the nest. Travel and maybe get to know my father a little bit, because we kind of lost touch with each other when I was in the Philippines. We didn't have a good relationship when I was younger, but it kind of developed into something better, as the older I got. And so I decided, okay, I guess I'm going to Germany. And Koi is asking where in Germany. So I was born in Bonn, and I went back to Bonn, which is West Germany. And I went there, and then I realized really quickly, like, oh my God, their educational system is very different. After 10th grade, you cannot just go into university and study law or medicine. You have to have some extra years of high school education, so to speak. And so I studied for 3 more years. So 11th, 12th, and 13th grade. And on top of that, I had to relearn a lot of my German, which I, forgot. And that's when I decided to go to university. I was not quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to do something about law, something with law, but I was sort of like, it was a bit of, I was ambiguous about it, because I actually wanted to be a journalist originally. Me becoming a podcaster, what a full circle. So I went to the Netherlands. I went to a liberal arts college to take up social sciences. Didn't like it. It was very much hippy dippy, very liberal arts. I didn't really like the community after a year and a half, I think. So I dropped out. That was a big no-no for my Filipino side. Like, what? You're dropping out of college? I'm like, don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to work a little bit, and then I'm going to enroll into law school, which basically saved my reputation amongst my family, because there's nothing more that they wanted. They really wanted for me to become a lawyer. So that's when I landed in the UK. I went to the University of Liverpool, and I kind of stayed after I graduated, but that was in the middle of the recession, and life was hard in the UK during the recession. I didn't find a job, went back to Germany, did my master's, came back to the UK, and I've been here since 2015, I think. And that was sort of my journey around the globe.
Wow. That's wow.
Us Misties just go everywhere.
Yeah.
We never stay on foot.
Yeah.
Like, we're at the Philippines, or in one of our parents' country.
No, I think my mom would say like you've become very much a nomad since you've left the
Yeah.
Philippines, because I had a quick stint in Madrid as well. Like, oh, I think I wanted to learn a bit more Spanish. I stayed there for a month, contemplated literally like dropping out of school just to live in Madrid.
Yeah.
But then my dad was like, no, you're finishing high school, you're going to college, don't do that. But yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
I had, in the Philippines we would say, I've got itchy feet, nangangati yung mga makati yung paa, lakwachera.
Yeah.
So that was me. Like I couldn't say I'm like, oh, I wanted to go, I wanted to leave. I've been here for too long. Let's go. But I realized that, I think I'm gonna have to settle down at some point because it's becoming very, very tiring. And then the pandemic hit, and then now we're forced to be settle in.
Yeah. It forced you to like just
definitely stay put.
Like,
and I've been having cabin fever since I don't know, March 2020.
Yeah,
so,
I think we all have.
Yeah,
I think but are you based in London or
I'm in Sheffield?
You're in Sheffield. Okay.
Yeah, so I am in the Yorkshire. I'm in South Yorkshire,
right
in the north, where it can get it can get a really, really gloomy and rainy a lot of times. But then I think England is generally very, very rainy and gloomy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in the north. I've always gravitated towards the north.
Yeah.
Liverpool was in the north, and then I landed here for my postgrad and eventually for the jobs. Yeah.
So, but you're practicing law at the moment, or
I was practicing. I was very unhappy about it. I just wanted to. It was on my list. Like I had to do it because that was sort of the dream of my mother for me, and I felt compelled and obligated to sort of fulfill that. It's a very Filipino, very Asian sort of upbringing. Like, oh, I want you to be a lawyer, and you'll be such a disappointment if you. She never said that, by the way. God rest her soul. Both of my parents have passed away. They've never put that on me, but I've always felt that invisible pressure. So I saw it through. I said, okay, let me qualify as a lawyer. Let me practice. But I was so miserable that I had to sort of reassess my priorities and say, I want to do something else with my life. I want to do things that yet make me happy. I want to prioritize my mental health. I've done the whole law thing. I've proven to people that, I did this. I achieved it. Yeah, I can do it. But I was so freaking unhappy. So now I'm not going to continue this. I'm not going to do this for 50 years just because some cultural expectation. So I quit my job in the middle of a pandemic and then found some random job at University of Sheffield. And it's still sort of high pressure, but it's definitely not legal anymore. So it's not in the legal industry. And I'm happy. It's less stressful. I have more time for my podcast. And it's given me, it opened up sort of this new area, this new industry for me, where I get to meet a lot of very interesting people that I would not have met had I stayed a lawyer, because it's the lawyer world, the legal world is very incestuous that way. They're very much in their bubble, and being in higher education is very different because you get people from all sorts of sort of specialties and expertise, and I'm just learning. I'm just enjoying the ride, and wherever this will take me, I will go. But I'm much happier. So yeah, that's sort of the lawyer journey.
Good for you. Like following your heart, like literally following your heart and following, focusing on yourself. And that's what, like, we all talk about like self-care and self-love, and that's a prime example. Like,
that's number one.
Going for what makes you happy. So well done to you for that.
Yeah,
I think a lot.
It was scary.
No, I think a lot of people get stuck in that, like doing what they hate. Working with something that they hate, even though you like you said, you were probably great at what you were doing.
I got good feedback, but I was like, no, I feel horrible. You cannot say anything. Like my supervisor was like, give it a chance. You're good with clients, because I've always been good with people anyway. I love listening. I love talking. And, as a lawyer, that's sort of 80% of the job, listening and giving advice and just lending an ear, because sometimes they just like to talk about their problems. And I've got good reviews, but I could not accept those reviews. I could not make those reviews make me feel better and make those reviews make me stay in the industry. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go. This is not making me happy anymore. And it was a scary step, but it had to be done. And I'm so much better for it.
Oh, we got Glenda here saying, "You go, girl."
Thank you. I definitely go. I did go. I went, and goodbye.
Yeah. No, well done to you for doing
Thank
that.
you.
And hopefully people can listen to what you've just said, and probably if anyone feels stuck, and take that step. And
it takes a lot of courage, but go for it.
Yeah. But so we were talking about staying put and like during the pandemic. Is this where Lagim was born, during the pandemic, or was it something?
I think the pandemic pushed me into it.
Right.
Look, I've been a true crime fan since for as long as I could remember. I was interviewed by another podcaster, and I told her, look, I was born in an era, and I grew up in the 90s in the Philippines, where crime was just everywhere on primetime television.
It's
in the news, and nothing was blurred out, nothing was censored. So TV Patrol would come on, or GMA Evening News would come on, and there'll be dead bodies just there. Like there's no on the TV, nothing is blurred, and it's like, oh my God, they don't even cover up the dead. And it was so normal. Only in retrospect, right? Only in retrospect did I realize that was completely effed up, for children to see that. It still is, and it's still that way. So I grew up in the 90s, and there was like massacre, rape, murder, like left and right, every night. As Glenda said, it's very raw, very real, and people didn't think, oh my God, maybe hindi to para sa mga bata. I'm like, you know what? We were just like sitting there, our television set, like if it's the most normal thing. So I kind of, my fascination was not about the gore of it. Like I was never a fan of gore. I was like, oh my God, look at all the blood and the stab wounds. My fascination was about the psychology behind it, sort of the motivation. I've never been, friends could attest to that. I've never been a fan of like gore movies. I like the more cerebral and suspenseful type of true crime stuff. So my fascination became about the question of good and evil, human nature, are we evil, like inherently, or maybe are we good inherently? And there are just some people where it's there's sort of an aberration, there are exceptions, and they're just born the wrong way. I don't know. That was sort of my thinking. And then all these movies came out in the 90s, particularly directed by, what's the name of the guy, Carlo J. Caparaz? Remember him? Oh my God. And he directed everything from, I don't know, Maggie de la Riva, all the massacre movies. And I was like, oh, I want to watch that. And my mom was like, absolutely not, my child. So I was like, oh, why not? But I would go on watching that as a teenager. I'm like, oh my God, this is so fascinating. Fast forward to Germany, where every night there was a different CSI show. On Monday it was CSI Las Vegas. Tuesday it was CSI Miami. Wednesday it was CSI Las Vegas. And then I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because primetime true crime. I was glued to my TV. I would do all my assignments before 8:50, because 8:15 is prime time in Germany. I would do all my assignments, and then it was just snowball from there. From 8:15 to like 11, it's just true crime. And that sort of that motivated me. And then I got into books, and then I got into blogs, and then eventually podcasts. But I was always of the belief that, in order to become a podcaster, you have to be like a radio journalist. You have to have the most expensive equipment. And I never thought of sort of me doing this, but I wanted to. And when I was I think it was around 2017 or 18 when I thought, maybe I could do this, because you don't hear about stories from Asia that much. There are only a couple of.
It's true.
Yeah, right. There are only a couple of podcasters out there who focus on Asian stories, but not specifically just Filipino or just Vietnamese or just Indonesian. So I thought, look, I grew up with all these stories in the 90s. Nobody's telling these stories. I could, I think by 2019 or 2020, when the pandemic hit, I could count on one hand and maybe two hands the Filipino true crime podcasters out there, and none of them had the format that I wanted to have. And so I think when I first switched from lawyer to non-lawyer job, I said, this is it, let me do it. And I first started just recording on my phone, and I didn't know what I was doing, honestly. And that was the push that I needed. The pandemic was the push that I needed, but it's been brewing for years.
That's awesome. Like you said, like I've listened to a few different, like there are a few out there, not that many, but there are a few. But I think your one just captivated me. Like I sat and like binge listened to your I was working at the same time, and like you like we said at the beginning, your voice. You capture us from it's
like you're there. It's like you're there in the crime scene.
Exactly. It's like you were there, like investigating and like these and I think for me it's very reminiscent of like all these like true crime unsolved mystery, those unsolved mysteries, and like so it really captivated me, and the way you deliver your each episode is very detailed, and it's very you just explain it really well.
Thank you.
What's the preparation behind
it's
like each episode? Or what's it like?
Sorry, I think 90% of it is research and writing. So I would pick out stories where so the basis of Lagim is not to sensationalize these horrible stories. My purpose, and what I've always liked in other true crime podcasts, mainly from the West, are those who do not sensationalize and talk about it like it's some sort of thrill thing, you know, because there are real people behind it. There are real victims, real families who are mourning for their loved ones. So I never wanted to make it a thrill piece, a sensationalized piece. So I choose stories where I can raise awareness and also make a social commentary. And most of the social commentary would be about our police system, our criminal justice system, our government, our judicial system, because those are the ones who eventually will handle sort of the cases that we bring to them, right? So that's how I choose my cases. So the first step is to find cases where I think it will highlight a case that would highlight something that is deficient in our system that needs to be changed. And then I go on reading about it. I need to have like a chronological order of things happening. So what happened before the crime? I want to know what preceded the killer's actions, or what was the victim like. I want to find out a lot about the victim. But the problem with true crime stories across the board, and especially in the Philippines, is that you almost don't know anything about the victims. There's nothing about them on the internet, because the killer gets sensationalized, the process gets sensationalized, the controversy about some police officer said something, that those are the things that get a lot of publicity, but we don't know who was this person. Like, was she a college graduate? How was she as a daughter? Was he a providing father? Was she a good mother? What kind of family? So those things get sort of very marginalized in the process. But I try my best to research those, and that's why it takes me such a long time to sometimes dig out stuff, because there's not a lot online about old cases, for example, especially those who are from the 90s, 80s, 70s, let alone
Yeah,
60s.
can imagine.
Yeah. So a lot of times it would take me around 3 to 4 days just to dig out the most random pieces of information. And after that, I do my chronological list of things, like what happened first and where are we at now with the case? Is there closure or not closure? Are we still expecting updates? Because usually things just get like I think I featured one of the cases, Jang Lucero's story, where after 4 months of intense coverage, nothing. There's nothing on the internet anymore.
Yeah,
The police has said nothing anymore, and that's how it is
it's
with the
sad.
Philippines. Yeah, because you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then I write the script, and then I'm very meticulous about my script, that sometimes I have to rewrite it 2 or 3 times until I have to stop myself. I'm very much an overthinker, so then I have to stop myself and said, look, stop editing. It's not going to be the most perfect one. It just has to be a clear story where people can follow your thought process and they understand what you're trying to communicate. And then I record it. I have someone helping me with editing. Yeah, and sometimes it can take a week for all of that to happen, sometimes 2 weeks. But yeah, some stories are hard to digest, that it takes me months to finish writing. And, that goes for the very, very recent episode where I was like, oh, this is very traumatic. The details are horrible. So I would write a couple of sentences and just shelve it for another week and then go back to it. So yeah, that's normally my process when I come up with an episode.
Yeah, because it's
not been exposed to Philly crime. Like, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, even as messed up as the crimes, like you said, the 90s, there's something weirdly appealing. I don't know if it's something to do with us, but like, listening to your podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm 9 years old again. Like, I kind of remember.
It's weird, like you say, you're 9 years old, but that's how I feel as well. Like, because that's how I remember all these cases.
You probably thought, oh, that didn't affect me back then, but that was your environment. I remember learning about sort of rape and consent when the Maggie de la Riva movie came out. I didn't know about Maggie de la Riva in the 60s, but when the movie came out in the 90s, I'm like, what the hell is rape? And then my mom, who was a midwife, who is supposed to be like, she should have like the easiest time explaining these things to me, but it's difficult for a parent. And so she wouldn't explain things to me. So I found out in school, because in school you found out the most horrible things. And then you come back home and you demand answers from your mother. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know there are bad people out there doing this. And then I'm like, oh my God. And these are the things that, you think that didn't leave a mark on you, but it did. If you grew up in that environment, you suddenly realize, oh my God, there are bad people out there. There are people who are, I don't know. I know this guy had some utang and he got decapitated.
Yeah.
And my mom would say, ang mura ng buhay sa Pilipinas. Like, life is so cheap because somebody could just pay somebody 200 pesos and then somebody could assassinate you, sa kanto and all that. And that was the environment that we grew up with. And it was so normalized that now as adults, we listen to true crime. We're still fascinated because it was so imprinted upon us, that kind of material when we were younger.
Yeah. It's so true that you say that, like, because like I kind of think like, where did my fascination come from? Like, why do I love watching these things? And it's like I said, I think the one I remember quite distinctly from when I was living in the Philippines was the Lipa massacre.
Yes.
That was,
which I will cover the second season.
Okay, right. I think that was 94, 93, maybe. Yeah. And that I remember distinctly. And also because the movie came out
a couple years or years after. The turnover of movies was really quick.
Exactly. It was crazy. And then and you covered one of these stories. What was I think when I was listening to it, which one is it? not that one. The Elsa Castillo story.
Yes,
And because
horrible.
that was known as the Chop Chop Lady.
Yes, and I
In the
hated
That
Philippines.
I
terminology.
Yeah,
hated that
it's
name.
horrible.
I've
Like it's
hated
horrible.
it.
But
Yeah.
when I was
Terminology.
listening to it, I was like, oh, I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And I Googled it like after I listened, and I could see come up with Chop Chop Lady.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And this is
So
the
it's that
thing.
story.
They've been given that name, and that was the sensationalist bit. And I refuse using the chop chop lady term in my podcast
Yeah.
because it was just so disrespectful to
Mhm.
Elsa and the family. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm always thinking if they come across my podcast, I don't want them to think that I'm just using this for the SEO, like, just
Yeah.
optimize the freaking search so we can know. I'm going to use her proper name. I'm going to
Yeah.
cover this as respectfully as possible. But that story was crazy because there were 2 movies made about it. That's how crazy this crime was. 2
Mhm.
movies were made about it, and I don't think there was ever, if you listen to it, and in a way there was really no justice. If you come to think of it, there was really no justice for her, and that left me really, really disturbed as a kid and even as an adult when I think back to it.
Mm-hmm. It's horrible.
I remember when I was living in Philippines, there was a program. I can never remember its name, and they used to reenact all these crimes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I used to watch it.
I
And
know
I
what
was
you
like,
mean. I forgot.
I know
it.
which one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there was a show.
oh my gosh, like this is raw. Like one that sticks out to me was this rape incident, and after they raped her, they threw her in a well and everything. And I
Yes.
was like, I was like 9-10 years old, and I still remember that episode. And then when I come back to London, like I said, it was literally Murder She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder. Like they were all
Yeah.
happy and pleasant, but then when you go to Philippines, it's just like raw.
It was very raw. Very raw. And the thing is, as women as well, as women, we are doubly fascinated because for us, it's like reading and listening and watching cautionary tales, because we know that as women, in some regard, we are very vulnerable to some crimes in a lot of situations. And psychologists, psychiatrists have sort of talked about why is it that women are sort of the largest demographic that consume true crime. It's because we know that we are very much exposed to a lot of the elements out there, and we can become victims easier than men, and so for us it's almost like a life manual. Okay, so what happened in this crime? What did she do that I need to avoid so I don't end up in a ditch? That kind of thing. And I just want to react to some of the things that were written in the chat, because these are all the things that, Koy is right. So I've definitely consumed Kapag May Katuran ni Paglaban Mo. That's the one with very raw reenactment. I've still got vivid memories of a few cases. And Magandang Gabi Bayan, yes, and the horror stories and the true crime stories. These are the ones that I've definitely consumed as a kid as well, and it was completely normal. It was not like, don't watch that. No, it was all approved by the parents, so it was okay. So I watched it,
Yeah.
So as women, when I look at my statistics, 80% of my listenership is women, and that's it. We're fascinated because we want to learn how to protect ourselves as well. So
and I like when in your each episode you kind of like sum it up and you kind of make it relevant to today, because some of it's still very relevant.
Very much,
like we were talking about this one before, the Pepsi Paloma case. I think that one stuck with me. Also, it stuck with me because of the way you delivered it, because you can sense how uncomfortable, in a sense, like not uncomfortable, but like
outraged.
Yes,
you knew it was wrong.
You knew it was wrong, and I can imagine how hard it must have been to. I know you want to stay objective, but I rate you for that one, because it's like that one's harsh. That it's horrible, and because of I don't know if you want to just give a brief, because Glenda, one of our viewers here, she's actually from Indonesia. So if we can give our audience just a short summary of this
Yes.
Pepsi Paloma story.
So
in a
Pepsi...
Lagim voice. No.
Usually I do this like in my room. My boyfriend can't even come inside when I get into the zone, so I can't quite promise. I can't promise that. So just for the people out there, so Pepsi Paloma was an actress in the 80s, and she was discovered by someone who essentially made what we would now call soft porn. And she was very young. I think she was 13 or 14 when she was first discovered. And she was thrown into this very sort of lewd industry of soft porn movie making. But somehow she didn't mind, or at least she was very much influenced and I guess maybe a little bit brainwashed by the manager and her mom to, just to go on with it. She became the breadwinner at some point. There was money in the 70s and 80s to be gained from that industry. And, as somebody who was in that industry, you become controversial. And in one of the movies, she was completely naked. So that was talk of the town. And, from, even though it was sort of Philippines during the martial law era, and people had far more greater problems at that point, it was still very, people still look to entertainment to divert sort of away from their problems. So Pepsi became quite a name in that industry. She, I think, attempted to also go into mainstream, and she guested in a few shows. And that's when she met Tito Vic and Joey and Richie the Horsey. Yes, Koy, those were the Bomba films back then. So that's when she met Tito Vic and Joey and Richard the Horsey. And Tito Vic and Joey back then, they were already making sort of Manila disco music before they became Itbulaga hosts. And they were quite established already. They were quite, heartthrobs in a way. They were successful. They had that power already. And Pepsi was just this 14, 15-year-old girl sort of just, coming into her own and into the industry. And I think there was one party, the version is, there was one party where all of them sort of were celebrating, after a show or after a shoot. And there were allegations of Richard de Horsey and, Joey De Leon trying to force themselves onto Pepsi and another friend, sort of tearing at their clothes, exposing bits of their bodies, and at some point finding themselves with the men in a different location in a hotel where, according to Pepsi, she was raped by at least, it was Vic Soto, Joey De Leon, and Richard De Horsey. Tito Soto was not there. Tito Soto was not there during that point, but he was eventually informed, and Pepsi goes missing afterwards. She suddenly was abducted, and it was widely believed, and there was evidence about this, that she was abducted by people who were connected to the Sotos. Sotos they're sort of a very well-known, well-connected, rich family in the Philippines that can trace their roots to sort of a couple of big, rich families in Philippine history. So definitely well established in society. And she was abducted, and then she sort of resurfaced, and she disclosed that, she was, she did file a case at some point, and it became a whole thing. And there was a counter filing from the men's side as well. But at some point, she was also forced to sign a document to essentially say, I'm dropping all my accusations, all the charges, because I'm lying. And this was apparently done with nobody on her side. And we're talking about a minor. This is what really angered me, because she was a child and she was forced into these situations. She was intimidated by Tito Soto, to sign this essentially waiver to drop all the charges just for his brother to walk free and not endure the media shit show that was sort of building around them. But their PR machine, as Tito Vic and Joey and Richie, sort of as an auxiliary part of that group. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's what you get when you're live.
Okay. No worries.
I talk with my hands a lot. Anyway, so their PR machine was very powerful, and they got interviewed, and it basically it was smear campaign against Pepsi, essentially painting her as this sort of harlot, and there was nothing like that at all. We didn't force our kisses on her. It was a peck on the cheek, and we never raped her and all that. And at some point, I think Pepsi, knowing that you're just a child and you're up against these rich families, it was probably discouraging and scary for her to pursue this. And at some point, I think the charges were dropped. I don't remember. I see how I repress the memories of Pepsi Paloma now, because it's just a horrible case for me. But I think a couple months or maybe a year later, Tito Vic Vic, Joey, and Richie made a public statement in a newspaper that they want to apologize for what they did to Pepsi, but they never explicitly said that that they've raped her, but they apologized for something. So, which for me is an admission of guilt. And they also did this very public stunt on Itbulaga where they knelt down and said sorry. So essentially putting sort of a visual to the publicized apology. And I just can imagine Pepsi looking at this. I'm like, you've been denying this crime for so long. Your brother intimidated me to sign this waiver, and now you're essentially apologizing for it and essentially admitting it, and I can't do anything anymore. And she just tried to move on. She tried to continue with her acting career. She had apparently a lot of sort of projects on her list. But one day, I think in 86 or 87, she was found dead in her room. And the accepted theory is that she committed suicide, but it just didn't align with sort of how she was at that point, having all these plans, having adopted a baby, planning a birthday party. It just didn't make sense for her to suddenly commit suicide. And so some people are saying that somebody might have plotted something against her, somebody might have killed her. Or maybe she was driven. She was driven by all the trauma and the depression and everything. All the mental health problems that might have come from the assault. Maybe that's what drove her. You just never know what's happening in somebody's mind and heart. And so that's the Pepsi Paloma case. And please, I've explained it very, very badly now, but do listen to the episode. It would make much more sense that way. Yeah. And what my main beef is that she was a child and the power imbalance was so real and so great. And I look at our politics, and Tito Soto is essentially a very powerful politician. Vic and Joey are still very much, part of whatever it is that they do on TV. And Richard DeHorsey, they've been around for
still
decades,
running,
decades.
Itbulaga's still running.
Yeah, and Richard Horsey, sure, he died, but he died a free man. He was able to live till 2015, and I think Coy was saying that, he might have had a drug problem, but look, he lived a free life. He was able to thrive until 2015, and meanwhile, we don't have Pepsi anymore, and that's what angers me, to no end. Yeah,
and I'm sure, she was probably victim shamed a lot.
Definitely. Just silence.
It's the worst era, and then the way we are as Filipinos.
exactly. And like
Yeah.
people love celebrities as well, especially like you were saying, like
Oh my God,
Tita
yes.
Vic, like they were up and coming at that
At
during
that
that
point,
period.
yeah,
At
yeah,
that point, so
yeah,
they were like heartthrobs or whatever probably
yeah.
during that time.
Yeah.
So
And what I couldn't get over it with, I think I included this in the podcast.
mhm,
Joey, who was the oldest at that point, amongst the three, and Richie as well.
yeah,
He said, "Oh, in that interview that I quoted a lot, oh yeah, one court clerk even said, oh, I wish that I was the one who got raped." I'm like, why do you have to say that?
that's disgusting.
Whether
Yeah.
that was true or not,
Mhm.
why would you say that in an interview? How can you?
Yeah.
And that's where I draw the line. There's such
Yeah.
a love for Tito Vic and Joey. There's such a love for their celebrity status.
Mhm.
And it doesn't sit right with me.
No.
But that's the thing. We're such a celebrity loving culture. We have, before the stan culture of the West, we had
Mhm.
idols. We have
Yeah.
idolized celebrities. Like the stan culture that you see now,
Mhm.
that has nothing on how we have idoled. We've got the Noranians, the Sharonians. These are fan
Yeah.
bases that have literally existed for 50 years,
Mhm.
and there's no letting up because we love
No.
celebrities that much.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has its
Yeah.
drawbacks. It's insane.
It is. It's crazy. We've got a comment here from Koi. PH
Yeah.
system is or was effed up. Well, it is
Still
still.
is.
It still is.
Still is.
Yeah, no, like, and this is one of the things when I listen to your podcast, there's so many like what the F moments. It's like, how can they miss that?
Yeah.
How how some of these victims are never gonna get justice because someone effed up
Yeah. And
somewhere
I
along the
don't,
line.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
The
don't
Nita Blanca
understand.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nita
And
Blanca.
I'm
Oh,
like,
don't even get me
dude,
That
started.
like,
one.
what was you doing? What
Exactly.
the hell? I was just like, oh my god, oh my god.
It's
Like,
it angers me that it's dealt with little reverence to human life. And you would think, oh, Nita Blanca, she's a veteran actress, she's a Philippine showbiz institution, and
Yeah.
still they effed up. So what
Yeah.
chance do I have as a no name, as a nobody, to get justice when
Yeah.
I'm killed, when somebody commits a crime against me? And it's just, oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's
it's good listening, but it's like I listen to it like 6 a.m. So by the time I'm finished, I'm at my patience and I'm like, you didn't finish the murder. And it's like, oh yes, that was new.
Yeah. And I think I when I communicate with listeners on Instagram, a lot of people do send me very exasperated, DMs. Oh, I can't believe this. Like, channel that energy into doing something in your community that would make a difference, so these things don't happen. You think you cannot make a difference, but you can. And what I always tell people when they DM me and they comment, I said, hold the people accountable who are in power, because they're only in power because of you. They are public servants. You pay taxes, and that's their income. And so hold them accountable, and demand that something is done. But the thing is, I think we've been colonized for so long and so many times that when we either have such a fear of authority to the point that we become apathetic, or we just can't give a damn anymore. And it doesn't even go through fear. It just goes straight to being numb and apathetic. That would, what I have to survive this poverty ridden life that I live, that I couldn't give an F what's happening out there. But the thing is, at some point it will touch you. Someone in your family will get killed, or will get raped, or will get robbed, and then you'll have to deal with this oppressive unjust system. So you have to hold them accountable. And that's all I'm hoping that I get to encourage people for a long time.
Yeah, or be at the wrong place at the wrong time, be accused, falsely accused. The amount of people that get falsely accused as well is, and it feels like, just recent, was it the New Year's when the Sarah, the girl that died, it's like the police just went, okay, this is solved, it's a rape, that's it. It's like they just like kind of like, yeah, we case solved. And it's like, how did you come?
What? Are you talking about the Christine de Sera case?
Yeah, Christine de Sera.
Yes, and it's just like, how could you know it in 2-3 days? And this is the thing. I've been following that case. I've got a Google alert and everything, and I'm just like, I'm going to cover the case at some point. I'm just giving it a bit more time to develop. But the way that they effed up, and I don't know if it's sort of our macho culture, the bravado thing that this is a highly publicized case, and it's all over Twitter, it's all over TikTok, it's all over Facebook and Instagram, and so my God, we need to have this sort of we need to respond immediately. Like, no, you're not celebrities. You have to do your job. If you have to keep the reporters at bay and tell them, look, we need time to do the forensics on this, and tell them that you don't owe anybody an opinion after 2 days. It was insane.
That was crazy how they were like, case closed, and it was like, huh? What? Case solved. That's what they
and then they had to reopen it and re-examine it. And now everybody's been, and now they cannot go into the hotel anymore, and they had to release all of their previous suspects. So who are you? This is the thing. Who are you left with? You have to start from zero, but then you don't have the evidence anymore, and it makes things harder the farther away you are from the crime date and crime scene. And that's just I remain angry at this.
There's so many. And then that Claudine Feliciano story, where one of the the accused had a minor, had been arrested for something before.
Hold on,
but that wasn't. Was it something along those lines?
He was involved in a killing. He was actually convicted, but then released. He was released, and he was on nobody's radar. He was on nobody's radar, and he was involved in these thefts and robbery around that area where Claudine would frequent. He and his group of men, they were prolific there. And for some reason, of course, I would imagine people, will have reported him or will have reported the crimes of cell phone thefts and all that. Yeah. But what are the police doing? Why are you not rounding up the usual suspects and saying, look, we've got an ex-con here. We've got an ex-murderer here. Why can't we just round them up and ask them? But no. So he's been living his life, and then he ends up killing, a lovely young lady who had her whole future ahead of her. And for what? For what? Her car, her cell phone?
It's such a waste. Yeah. It's horrible. It's so
It's so
horrible.
bad in Philippines, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever catch up.
The thing is, I genuinely feel that there are funds, there is money to spend in order to upgrade our systems. But I genuinely believe that there is this weird concerted effort to keep it dumb, to keep it rudimentary, and to keep it so basic, so that we just, I don't know, like we just say bahala na. So we keep in the bahala na atmosphere, and that is the thing that angers me, because all of our sort of our Asian neighbors, and I'm not saying that, we're richer than them, or, we've got more potential than them, but they've managed to sort of have, better systems of investigation. You look at, and I'm just like, why can't we have that? Why can't we have people who just knows, who would know the basic things, like, please don't walk around the crime scene. If you have to walk around,
you got that uncle with his make-believe. With his make-believe gun.
Exactly. And if you have to walk around the crime scene, which I can understand because you have to take samples and everything, why can't you put booties on? You know, like those surgical booties. Like you see it on CSI. Why can't you like can somebody manufacture that? You know, in I remember in the Visconti case where the evidence was just it was so messed up. And the fact that there was no evidence photographer on the day because it was a Sunday. Excuse me, crime doesn't sleep on a Sunday.
It's like, oh, it was a Sunday going to church.
Yeah,
it's like
and we don't have a police photographer, crime scene photographer. I'm like, there has to be somebody on call to do this because crimes still happen on a Sunday. So yeah, it is completely messed up.
So it's crazy how many people have actually gotten away with murder, and how many in Philippines. I don't know if you know any statistics on how many unsolved
Oh God, I'm gonna have to come back to you about that. But yeah, I would say a lot.
Big statistic.
Like how many people get justice, and how many people, because they have money, get away with crimes.
Very few.
Because in the Visconti, it's the Visconti case. What was his name? The guy that killed, or like that went to jail.
Yeah, so Hubert Webb and some other children of prominent families.
Families, yeah. And did they get life imprisonment or no?
I think they did get life, but at some point they appealed and they're released and they're free. They're roaming around free. Yeah, and it's all because of a mistake by either the courts or the prosecution. They lost DNA samples, and due to that technicality, their appeal was upheld and they were released. And I'm just like, what? Who lost the DNA samples? Are we still okay? Like that aggravates no end, because we still don't know. Like I'm still not 100% convinced that they were innocent.
Right.
But if they were, then they've just spent a good chunk of their lives rotting in prison instead of being young men outside. But my heart tells me that they are probably not that innocent. But that's just my opinion. But then they got off on a technicality, and that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, man, there's so like I said, like I always get like frustrated, and because like watching, the actual show Unsolved Mysteries, like I love watching it, but then it's like bitin. It's like it's like, okay, well,
you have to go in there with
someone needs to solve this because I can't sleep.
I know. And then sometimes at 3:00 in the morning I wake up like I am going to solve all the unsolved mysteries, by the way. Like I'm the one, And I was like, no. If the police were not able to do that, I don't think I could do it. But it is frustrating, especially because there are real people still waiting for justice. There are real people who are still asking themselves, where has it all gone wrong? And why can't we have systems in place where we can at least get a shot at justice? Like just getting into the courtroom and being able to confront whoever the suspect. They don't even get that because of how everything is set up in the
celebrities.
Yes,
they keep hiring the celebrity.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Like every time I listen to one of your podcasts, there's like 5 million tabs on my phone. I'm like, nope, she needs to solve this for me. What happened?
Oh my God! I think I've spoken to someone on Clubhouse. This was like 3:00 in the morning, and he does movies and documentaries. He's Filipino as well. And he said, did you know this documentary called Blah Blah? I was like, yeah. And like, oh, I was part of that. If you find a case where you think it makes a good documentary and we can collaborate on that, I'm like, oh, dude, I've got a roster of cases. Where do you want to start?
I would love to see you do something like that.
Oh
That'd
my
be
God, I
cool.
would fail so miserably. I'm like,
Yeah.
camera. Oh my God, what do I do? But I think one day I'd love to host something like that where
Mm-hmm.
it's a documentary. It's being there in the Philippines, talking to the people. I think at some point, that and writing my own true crime novel. Those are the
Wow.
two sort of big
It's,
big goals. But who knows?
oh wow, that's so cool. We'll be watching that.
Oh, thank
So
you.
because
I'm
of doing this
manifesting.
podcast, is there is there a thing for this in Philippines, or is it just people abroad?
What do you mean? Sorry.
So because ever since I started following you, like a lot of other Filipino true crime podcasts have obviously popped up, and I've noticed they're all abroad. But is there like a thing in Philippines where actually people in the Philippines are like, is there someone doing what you're doing, but they're based in Philly?
I think so. Yeah, I think most of them are in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I at least I know two true crime Filipino true crime podcasters who cover Filipino true crime that are based in the Philippines, um, and some others who are sort of a hybrid. So they do mystery,
Mm-hmm.
supernatural, and true crime, and one of them is based in Cali, in
Mm-hmm.
California. And those are the only ones that I've really sort of gotten to know through Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm very much intimidated by everybody. I was like, I'm like that. Like I always think like, oh my God, I'm annoyed by my own voice, and I've got imposter syndrome, so I'm always very intimidated, and I almost never reach out. But I
Mm-hmm.
have reached out to a few of them, and from what I know, most of them are based in the Philippines, or maybe I've not done my
Mm-hmm.
research about all of them. Um, but there are sort of pan-Asian true crime
Right.
podcasters out there. I think one lady is based in Taiwan, and one lady is based in Singapore, and they cover sort of like the whole Asian continent
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And I think they jump from place to place. They're very flexible, so sometimes they are in Asia, sometimes they're in the US.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I only know me as purely true crime who's based not in the Philippines. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I
in
think
Europe,
yeah, and in Europe
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
Because I
pretty
think
cool.
like I said earlier, if you're not exposed, like you really don't understand like
Yeah.
the brutality, unfortunately, of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
crimes that,
Yeah.
that had occurred before like the internet and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And like I said,
I
unfortunately, it is gripping. There is something you're drawn towards it. Like
Mm-hmm.
apart from your voice, like the stories, it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like I need to like I need to like
Yeah.
lock in and like listen,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
to
Yeah.
But
these
but that's
stories.
the thing. I've always said that the podcast genre has a place for everybody, and the true crime podcast genre, um, it can get very competitive. I've seen that
Mm-hmm.
in sort of amongst the Americans and Canadians.
Yeah.
They can get very weirdly competitive and also weirdly friendly with each other. So it's a whole microcosm. But then I always feel like, look, I listen to at least 10 true crime podcasts of different styles, and I
Mm-hmm.
like them all equally,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there are podcasters out there who are very much off the cuff, and in tandem, and they
Mm-hmm.
just speak like magbarkada lang sila,
Right.
they're
Okay.
just friends discussing a true crime. And that's one style. There's
Yeah.
one, he's a bit more intense. He does it in under 30 minutes, and you get sort of an overview of things, and that's it. Intense
Mm-hmm.
music, sound effects. And with
Yeah.
me, all I wanted to do was to have something very simple, because I wanted to be that person in your ear, a friend telling you about this story,
Mm-hmm.
very intimate, but full of details that you can later on Google, where you can fall into a rabbit hole and be interested in it. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be that hook,
Yeah.
and then you can do the line and sinker for later on. So that's sort of the storytelling style that I wanted to latch on to.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people out there who say that oh, I don't like that your episodes are too long. That's fine. Then you can go to somebody whose episodes are not too long. People come to me if they like, long episodes. There's something there for everybody. And, I always tell them, you don't have to like my podcast, because I'm pretty sure there's a podcast out there that you will end up liking. As long as you support Filipino podcasters, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, you've actually, like, everything you described, you've kept that's you managed to do all of that.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think, well, this is my personal opinion, I kind of like forget like how long it is, because I'm like listening quite intensely.
You're like captivated.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like you've been transported to the room.
Yeah.
It's like you're in the podcast room.
Exactly.
That's what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Those are, So if you, the person who really inspired me on this type of style of podcasting is this Australian lady. Weirdly enough, Australian lady, but she hosts a podcast called Canadian True Crime. So her name is Christy, or Christy, and she's got this thick Australian accent, but she features exclusively Canadian solved crime. So it's never a mystery. So she covers a very specific niche. And if you listen to her, it's like you said, some of her episodes can go on for 90 minutes. And I'm just like there. I'm just like staring at the ceiling, just listening to her. And next thing you know, the 90 minutes are gone. I'm like, wow, I've been sitting like this for 90 minutes because it's captivating. It's well researched. I love the details. I love that she tells me something about the color of the hair of the woman. I love that shit. Like, give me all the details. I want to paint a picture. And she's been sort of one of my biggest inspirations, and that's what I wanted to achieve with Lagim as well.
Yeah, I think you do achieve that. Because you describe everything so well. Like, what's that woman? What was her name? The fashion, not a fashion model. She was like a fashion icon back in the 70s.
Maggie de la Riva. Yeah, the actress. Yeah.
How you painted that whole.
My maiden episode. I didn't know what I was doing then.
like the whole her driving and doing the, like it was very, I was never like, I don't listen to that many podcasts because like it's hard to captivate me. Like, I'm more like visual. I want to see, like, I want to watch it. But you actually do it really well.
Thank you.
So I remember seeing that whole day and like, oh. But today's episode, the one you released, that was a difficult one.
Yes, very difficult.
I have to say, anything with children,
children hits hard. It's hard.
It's like it. I had to take a break in between, and like one of my friends, she listened to it and she was like, what the F is going on?
Yes.
She was like, but and she was the same. She was like, oh, I had to take a break. I had to like I felt sick. And the thing is, you didn't even go into detail.
No, I avoided that. I could have, but I didn't want to.
I'm sure you'd find that hard to even.
I wrote that. I've been. That script has been in the making 4 months, and I rewrote it, I think, 3 times. I recorded it 2 times because every time I would finish like 2 sentences, it just, oh my God, I was exhausted, And I remember thinking, hold on, like I'm releasing this soon, and the script has been sitting there, and I've been looking at it, like I've been editing, going over it, changing sentences, changing the structure. What can I include? What should I include? What should, what are the things that I shouldn't include? And I just keep thinking back on, what do I want to communicate? What would I want to hear if this is the topic? And with kids, it's very difficult. And there's another episode coming up in the 2nd season where kids are also involved. And the thing is, you cannot help but feel so brokenhearted because it involves such vulnerable beings. But if you also want to make an impact in getting your message across, and my message was, look, these things are happening all around you in the Philippines, because 80% of the children are vulnerable to such exploitation, then you better be observant. It's okay to be a chismosa in that regard.
Yeah.
If you notice something odd in your neighborhood, if there, you know, you have to be vigilant and tell the police, have them crack down on certain houses where you think something funny is going on there, because it is happening, and it's happening to the most vulnerable, you know, members of our society. And you know, if it's, you know, imagine how hard it was for you to listen to that podcast. I imagine how hard it was for me to research and write it, and it wasn't even a lot of information. But imagine how it is for the child being exposed to that, being used and abused like that. So then I had to get myself motivated every day to sort of revisit the script and finally record it. And I just remembering being so thankful that I was done with it. I gave it to the person editing it, and I told him that, you know, please, you know, content warning, please, you know, like I know you're going to be listening to this over and over again because you have to edit it. So I had to warn him as well, because it's horrible stuff. And you know, you just can hope that it, you know, you have to hope that it will soon be eliminated from our society. Because the case is such a juxtaposition to our family values as Filipinos. We are all about, you know, being very family loving and child loving. And then when you see what agencies such as IJM, which I've quoted in this episode a lot, the International Justice Mission, who've done a study on the online sexual exploitation in the Philippines, they've said that, well, you know, most of the people who exploit these children are their own parents or their own siblings or their own aunties and uncles. And then you're like, what? So where did our Filipino family value go to, you know? Yeah, that was a tough one, because it was infuriating. Yeah.
And because like a lot of these families live in poverty as well, but I literally felt sick, because like the part when you were saying like about the lawyer or like some investigator that had to watch these, I was like, oh
yeah. And there were more than one. There were more than one of these videos. And I think I had somebody comment on one of my posts today about the episode where, he met someone who had to investigate and watch one of these videos or some of these videos, and the mental trauma that came with watching this horrible videos over and over again, because they were trying to figure out the reason that they had to watch it over and over again. The Daisy video itself was they needed to figure out, where is this house? Where is the crime scene? We need to find where this house, where it was shot, because they needed to collect evidence from there. They didn't have anything. They just had the video. They had the intel from the Australian and the Dutch police, but they didn't have any physical evidence of anything. So they needed a crime scene. And so they needed to, like, whenever they got intelligence information about, oh, that is one of Scully's hideouts, that's one of Scully's house, they needed to go back to the video, take note of the interiors compared to the houses that they found, and to go over and over those videos again. I'm like, oh my God, like, I hope they got therapy, but you know, from what we know of our system, I bet they didn't get therapy. And that's another thing that needs to change. Yeah.
Because like, just when you said the age of
so we're talking about
Daisy, was Daisy the 18-month?
18 months, and then Cindy was 11, and oh God, the other one is 13, I think. So these are babies, you know. And apart from Daisy, who was 18-month old, who was in that video, there was another one, I think, in another video, and I mentioned her in passing, and she was younger. She was a year old, I think, so younger than Daisy. You know, and we're talking about children who thought they were going to have some sort of nice future with this white guy who promised their parents that, oh yeah, I'm going to feed your children. I am going to um, send them to school, provide them with shelter, and little did you know they were just, objects to him.
Oh, it's
And
horrible.
that made my heart bleed, like,
Yeah.
to no end. And it was tough. It was tough consuming the research about it, because I had to play some of the videos over and over again, and to watch his face and to see no remorse, no guilt, no, and almost, there was, instead of all those feelings that you would expect from somebody who got caught red-handed, he was entitled and arrogant and almost indignant, that people are holding him accountable. And I'm just like, oh, walang hiyato,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was infuriating.
Yeah, he got named the worst pedophile in London. Like, they covered it when it came out.
It was he has that title now, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors anywhere else. The fact that he got found out was a miracle in and of itself. It would not have, the video would not have gotten out of the sort of dark web had it not been for another pedophile who thought it was funny to publicize it. So that was a complete coincidence. And just imagine what happens to all the other cases where we don't hear about them, we don't know about them. Yeah,
horrible. Yeah, no, because the way you summed it up is kind of like giving awareness to people, like, okay, this is still happening, and when you gave all the statistics, and I think that's something you give your listeners something to think about, like, okay, this is how you, like you were saying, this is how you can be, more observant about your surroundings and what's going vigilant around. And I think that's very important, because it's like, but yeah, that.
The thing is, I know.
Yeah,
it leaves me speechless. Yeah, but the thing is, we have a tendency in the Philippines to very much focus on our own. Like, wag mo na pansinin, hindi mo problema yan. We have that attitude, and we're so busy surviving in the Philippines. There's a pandemic, there's poverty, there. We've got crazy politics going on. We've got all these problems. And sometimes I can't understand. I completely can understand if people are just like, ayoko na makialam, I don't want to be in other people's business. I'm hardly taking care of my own business. I can hardly cope with my own problems. So I don't want to deal with like being observant and vigilant. But the thing is, we have to look out for each other, and we have to protect the children, and we have to be aware about these things happening, because when you look at mainstream media, when you look at the things that are posted on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube, ABS-CBN, GMA, TV5, they don't talk about these things. All you hear about is the vaccination, Duterte, elections coming up next year, and all of that, instead of really focusing. I know these things might not get you the ratings and the quota that you need, but these are the real problems that our real kababayans are facing every day.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
It's sad.
It's so true. We need you on ABS-CBN and GMA. You need to be on ABS-CBN and GMA.
I've already criticized them very much in one of my episodes. They won't hire me. I don't think they'll hire me.
Well, maybe TV5.
I'm like, oh, sorry. No, I've really given them a hard time in my Wawa Wee episode.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you people are like, no, they're not gonna hire me.
Me and Sam were actually discussing that, where we were like, we totally forgot about that stampede. So it's kind of like, like how it's the variety of different cases that you bring up. So that one, and then the ozone disco fire.
Yes.
Because people might not consider these as crimes.
Yes, I know. I did get a lot of feedback. Yeah. Oh, is this true crime? Like, I certainly consider it as true crime.
Someone has to be held accountable. Is
Definitely, yeah. But I will, it's a good way to mix it up a little bit, because if you're just like, oh, murder, 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 like,
yeah.
you got to mix it up a little bit, because at some point
Yeah.
people will be like, oh my God, how dark is your world? Because you're just talking about murders, I'm like, it's pretty dark, but I know how to mix it up. And I do consider such things true crime, because some people are responsible. Some people have definitely committed crimes in the Wawawi thing. There's there's criminal, and well, I don't remember the term, but reckless imprudence.
Okay.
I don't know, the weird legal jargon in the Philippines is one thing I can deal with, because it's very archaic. But it says reckless imprudence resulting in homicide, which is basically just saying, intentional, whatever, manslaughter. It's very different in the UK. But yeah, for me, that's true crime. Somebody has committed a crime. Somebody needs to answer for it, and most of the time, nobody does. So yeah.
No, exactly. It's like a lot of pointing fingers. And
Gosh, yeah. And the money talks. Money.
Yeah.
Just let the money talk. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a sad thing with both those cases. It was a lot of money. The people that were responsible for it had a lot of money, and no way they got away with.
They got away with it, and
we're just like here paying out this and that, like pocket money for them.
Hire the best lawyers.
Yeah.
What did I hire? An ex-undersecretary from the DOJ? Of course you did. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect anything else. If you didn't hire the most top-notch lawyer in the country, then you wouldn't be ABS-CBN. So yeah, that's the thing. And if you're poor, oh God, you don't stand a chance.
No.
Yeah,
that's a sad thing, and it's like what you said. About life being cheap in the Philippines, like
yeah, it is so true.
It's sad, and it's so true.
It's so true.
Yeah. Well,
to our viewers, like, you really do have to, like, it's part of our culture. Unfortunately, like, these gruesome crimes that she does cover and that you haven't uncovered. It's part of our culture, and it's true. It's not televised. It's not something that someone has sat down and discussed. There's nothing. There's no true crime Philippines.
Yeah, and I think because it's so integrated in our culture, it's so normalized that we don't see it as something worth being outraged about, and that's what chills me to the bones. That we just think, another murder, another rape,
exactly.
And that's why people have become so accustomed, desensitized. That's really the word for desensitized. That nobody's outraged anymore. Like, people are more outraged that some people in the Philippines have started identifying as non-binary and using they and them, but how are you more outraged about that? Or they're more outraged that I don't know, Russian vaccine, or Jollibee cooked at Powell, but you're not outraged that there's online sexual exploitation of children happening in your neighborhood two doors down. And I'm not saying these are not important, things that you're not allowed to be outraged simultaneously, but people tend to be very much easily swayed by the mob, by what's sort of trending, and and I think we have got all our priorities wrong, and we need to sort of find sort of that. Filipinos at our very core, we're very revolutionario. We are fighters. We have fought off, we have survived sort of brutal colonization and oppression, and we've become so tamed and so super embedded in our colonized culture that we forgot that we're fighters, we're revolutionarios, and we forgot to be outraged. We, up until like the 80s or maybe early 90s, we had people and farmers marching, asking for their rights. Who marches now? Now people are marching for when people are marching, people are seen as too woke, or you're just being disruptive. Like, when did that happen? No, like, we're here. It's democratic. Stand for protest for what you believe in, and try to implement change or demand change powers that be. And I think we forgot that because we just get so desensitized, and
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Like I wish that
is.
we could be more outraged about the more important things. But instead, here we are, Jollibee towel instead.
McDo beef.
Yeah.
Oh my
Gosh,
goodness.
yeah.
Oh.
No, it's so true what you said. Like there are more important things, and it's sad that people have become so like kind of like aloof to it. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It kind of comes embedded in your life, like
mm-hmm.
like me and Tanya, like I've told her I've never been able to gallivant on my own in Philippines because my aunties have always feared me being kidnapped, being raped because I was mixed, and like so they are aware of it, but not much is done.
Yeah, it's considered just like, oh, that's normal, you know. So I grew up in Davao, and you know, we in the beginning, I was also told, you know, you're so white, basically, you know, you don't even look
you stand
Filipino,
out, like
so you stand out, and you shouldn't be doing that. And you know, I regardless of how you feel about the current president, he did bring some sort of peace and safety in Davao City when he was a mayor, to the point that my mom was comfortable with me going outside. But still, there was always that thing like, oh, you know, don't go to that canto and that esquinita because that's kind of dark and you can get nabbed. And next thing you know, you'll be in the Davao River. You'll be floating down the Davao River into the Davao Gulf or something. And that's just said, like in passing, like it's the most normal thing, you know, being used for children who are disobeying, you know, come home at the first crack of darkness type of thing because, the pedophiles will nab you or something like that. And it's so part of our culture that it's not, there's no content warning there. There's no trigger warning there. It's just so normalized.
Yeah. Wow.
It's insane.
Crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. But how do you do it? Like it's a lot of heavy
it's heavy a lot. Oh my God.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I need a glass of wine
I guess it's because that's probably why you mix up your episodes. Like some not as like they're just as horrible, but it's not as intense. Like the details and like reading the actual stuff must get to you, but you enjoy it. But still, it's like the whole research part.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I enjoy is that I get to tell the story, but researching it can be really oppressive, especially with the Peter Scully, for example. Just reading it, like, oh my God, I'm getting a migraine. I'm like, oh, this is so fucked up. Sorry, I curse. And so I need to lie down after watching sort of that one YouTube video or after reading that blog, because you just have to process it. I don't enjoy that part, reading all the screwed up, you know, information, because I know I get frustrated. I know that I get outraged about it. But what I do enjoy is that here I am. I've got this voice. I've got people who listen to me, and I'm going to use that opportunity. And I'm going to use that the little clout that I have as a podcaster. I'm going to use that to have other people also get outraged or become outraged at the same issues that I raised. Because then I'd feel like I've done something good in the world, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
No, so what's your downtime? How do you downtime after these things?
I watch Star Trek. Why do I keep doing that?
It's
a wild word. I don't know why do I move so much? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I should really stop you know, using my hands to speak. How very Italian of me. I don't even have Italian. Another mic hash. I know, no, it's not broken, Linda. It's not broken. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, how do I?
Put your hands behind your.
You know what? I'm just gonna do this. Like, okay. So how do I spend my downtime? Um, Quite honestly, I just listen to more podcasts. And if I'm, when I'm feeling completely like exhausted about true crime, and I'm just like, okay, maybe enough true crime for today, because you've researched, you've typed, you've edited, you've recorded. Maybe your quota of true crime has been reached, and you should really step away from it now. But then I resort to other stuff like horror and sci-fi, and that I'm going to listen about that cult. So just mostly listening to podcasts, watching movies. I like a good rom-com. The cheesier, the better, and it makes me forget. It makes me forget all the gory details from my podcast. And apart from that, I like singing. I'm very much a karaoke fan. And God bless the neighbor upstairs. He's not complained yet. And and I like to dabble in fashion. So I'm very much like always looking at Instagram, like, oh, what's cooking this summer 2021? Not that I'm buying a lot of dresses and everything, because usually I'm just in my sweats because you're just working from home. But yeah, those are my other interests. But yeah, I just consume a lot of whatever's visual and audio out there that I can consume. I definitely love movies, and I definitely love series. I've just finished Shadow and Bone on Netflix, and again, very intense material. And I don't know, I just gravitate towards those things. So yeah, but that's my downtime. Hey,
Yeah. Oh wow. I just
keeping
finished
my hands
watching
away.
I finished watching Mayor of Easttown.
Oh, Mayor of Easttown. Yeah.
That was really good. That's the one with Kate Winslet. It's on HBO as well.
See, that's why I haven't watched it yet. So I am
Disney.
I'll ditch Disney so I can watch Kate Winslet, because I've heard really good things. So
it's really good.
I need to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a good one. So
I love that Glenda is like laughing at me. Glenda, it's okay. I know. I love my microphone is angry at me. I've been dropping it. My laptop too. My setup is very volatile. Okay, I have to tell you. It's I'm surprised that I've not broken anything yet. So
was it your laptop the first time?
Sorry?
Was it your laptop? Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first time. Then I hit my mic. I didn't even see that I hit it. Oh my God. It's okay now. I'm holding my own hands. No more casualties.
Wow. Yeah. I think there's one case. I don't know if you've covered it. The Sarmiento sisters. Is that what their names are?
Do you mean the Chong sisters?
Yeah, the Chong sisters.
Yeah.
Them.
Oh my. Okay.
That one, because the one I watched the documentary about Papa.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what's your
Oh my God.
On that one?
Listen, I've been fascinated with that case since the very beginning, and I wanted to cover it in my first season. But here's the thing: I've done something crazy, right? I've never admitted it to anybody, so this is a Sira Sira.
Yay! Exclusive
insider.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: I said, okay, I'm gonna watch this documentary. I'm gonna let it sit, and I know that Paco was deported to Spain. So he was somewhere. He was somewhere in North Spain, I think. The prison complex was somewhere in the north, and I googled the address and I wrote to him.
Wow!
I wrote.
Okay.
I said, look. Everybody has covered this case the way that the documentary was covered. So they were just regurgitating sort of the information that was there. And I would probably end up doing the same thing, because that's sort of the best information that we have, which is not a problem at all. But I wanted to do something different. And I was feeling very, very courageous and very gutsy. I wrote to Paco. and I put it in an envelope, everything sort of, you need to sign for it and all that. I waited for 3 weeks, and the thing just came back to me unopened, and I'm just like,
oh
yes, it's such an anticlimax thing.
oh
And my intel on Paco is that he's still in prison but allowed to go out to work as a chef in the city, or he's been released and he's not there anymore. Or we just don't know, because there's no new information whether he's been released from the Spanish prison. But what I do know is that when he was still there, he was allowed to work as a cook or a chef in the nearest town. And so that's why I was very courageous in writing to him, because all I wanted to do is maybe interview him, and I was ready to fly out to Spain to interview him, because I'm here in the UK. It just takes like one flight. Why not?
Exactly.
He's already here in Europe. And I was like, I told my girlfriend, like, I know it's a pandemic, but I'm ready to do this. I was so ready. And then the letter came back, and it's just returned to sender. I'm just like, no way, So I'm very interested in that case, and I've seen the evidence in the documentary, and I very much understand the advocacy in favor of Paco, and I'm very much on the fence, but sort of very much sort of on like maybe falling onto Paco's side of the fence, because there's a lot of strong evidence that points out to him not being in the area, not being in school, not being at the crime scene.
Exactly.
But I'm excited to do my own research, sort of separate from what the documentary has shown us. And maybe it'll get featured sort of in season 2 towards the end, maybe.
I'm looking forward to that one. That's a case I also think about every now and then. And like you said, like if you just do a quick Google search, there's not much update on it. Since that documentary. I remember I signed up to the email thing and everything.
Just to get updated.
To get updated, but then nothing ever, like there was no update after that.
And I've if you're like me and you're optimizing your Google search, I'm definitely very much, I put in the date, like, the last time that I heard about this case was in 2017. But 2017 until now, I want to capture everything. And if there's nothing there in the first page, and there's not been any updates, and either media, there's no interest in the media to cover it, but something is still going on in the background, and that's what's killing me, because I want to know. I bet there's something going on, but it's not being covered, neither by the Spanish media nor by the Filipino media. And that's why I wanted to write to him, and that's why I wrote to him, but he didn't respond. So hey,
Ask Koi.
Man. Koi's in Spain. He can be, if he's still there.
Koi can be your spy.
He can knock at the prison door.
Is Paco still there?
Is he still here, or is he in the city cooking some paella? So
there's no news if he's still there, or if he's been released.
No news. Like, all we know, that was sort of the last piece of information, is that he's been allowed to sort of leave. So it's a weird setup, isn't it? Like you're literally in there because you've been accused of murder, sort of half around the world, but you're allowed to sort of have a job outside and mingle with the civilian populace to cook, and then just come back and basically treating the prison as, I don't know, like your boarding house, your dorm.
Weird. I
mean, I've heard of such arrangements in other cases, but not in Filipino cases. But but who knows? And I very much was saying, I was telling my boyfriend, like, okay, once lockdown is lifted and we're allowed to go to Spain, like, maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll just like, hey, let me in, let me see this guy. but yeah, my letter was it was very clear what my intention was, gave him all the details about my podcast. You're free to listen to it. Like, very friendly, very forthcoming.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that he didn't get to read it. Like,
yeah. Or
I
if you
would have
didn't,
been,
yeah.
yeah, but it was never opened. It was literally returned to sender. It was never opened. So he never
Oh.
got it. Yeah. So
Well, he's
shame.
not there.
Yeah.
He's probably not there. He's
not
probably
there.
just a normal citizen.
Yeah,
civilian
just
somewhere. Who knows? In the wind. He's in the wind.
yeah. Man, yeah. Because was it in the documentary he was kind of upset when he was transferred to Spain because he could see his when he was in the Philippines, he kind of he moved around freely within the prison and he got to see his family more often.
Yeah, but I think the frustration in the Spanish prison was that the expectation was that he would be released quite soon after being deported, but I think it still took a couple of years and there were still some processes involved.
Right.
And,
okay.
And him being away from the family from the Philippines and them only being allowed, or them not having a lot of time really to sort of fly back and forth. That's an added frustration because it's not like the Philippines where they could just go to, Bilibid and that's it's so easily accessible.
Yeah.
But Spain is not Bilibid,
No.
And so the expectation was that at least he might be there for a couple of months and he'll be released, but that was not the case because they still wanted to talk to him. I think on the top of my head, what I could remember was we want you to admit it and be remorseful about it, and then we'll talk about parole. And I think that's the thing that he didn't want to comply with. Like, he didn't want to admit it because he stood his ground saying that I'm innocent. So I think that was one thing, but we don't know. We don't know what the update is. So yeah.
I'm looking forward to you solving this this case.
Maybe not. I'm just gonna go to Spain. If nothing pans out, I'm just gonna go to the beach.
You need to document this the next time you're in Spain.
I will. I have a camera now. I have a vlogger camera. I'm just like, hey,
nice.
So yeah, I'm well equipped now. I'm gonna definitely do that. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Cool.
Someone started a petition to free him.
Yeah,
I think
there might be 17,000 signatures.
Yeah, there might be. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, his family was very engaged and was very much was very active in getting the Spanish government involved, and that in and of itself, because they had the money and the citizenship as well. That's another thing. So that's why he was able to do that. But you're a normal Filipino, you're a normal Philippine, pure Filipino with only a Filipino passport will not be able to do anything like that. So yeah.
No.
So he still got lucky. If you look at the bigger picture, if you look at our systems in the Philippines, he very much still got lucky.
Yeah. If he is living, sleeping in a prison, but then working outside, it's still
still a good deal,
yeah, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you must have a whole list of
oh yeah, I've
cases because it's endless in Philippines, unfortunately.
I don't think I will ever run out of content. Yeah.
No. That is,
I've got I think 4 Google Doc pages of tables.
Wow.
I think I've already planned it until season 4. I'm all good. So whatever happens, there's always going to be content. But I'm also planning. So I've said this in I think in an interview, and I've said this in a couple of episodes that I want to start doing exclusive content for my Patreon as well, and feature stories of Filipinos, sort of Filipino true crime stories abroad in the diaspora, because there are a lot of cases out there where OFWs or sort of Filipino expats who were involved in things, especially Filipinas who may have gotten killed by their, for foreigner husbands. And even in the city that where I was born in Germany, there was a controversial case there. I think when I was a teenager, when I was there, when I transferred over to Germany, and it was sort of this big thing. And I was thinking that, when I get more time to create this content, I want to do that. Add some exclusive content for whoever wants to subscribe to my Patreon, and maybe occasionally also feature some of those in the regular feed, because those are interesting stories as well. They're part of the bigger, wider Filipino community. And they have interesting stories as well, and I want to include them. And I've included one already in the regular feed. So I featured the Angelo Quinto story. So, that took place in California, and I'm looking to, feature more of those stories, because, our stories matter as well. Even though we're not in the motherland. So fingers crossed. I have more time to do that.
Yeah. Oh, but so the Patreon, if you want, you can promote that here. We'll give you, maybe we'll zoom you in, and then let you tell people where they can listen to you and where they can follow you and talk about this Patreon and what it is.
Yeah. So I have a Patreon page for Lagim, where people have to, what is it? Is it $2 or £2? It says £3.
£3.
So £3 per month. You can get early access up to, I think, 5 or 6 days in advance of the regular publishing date. So you'll be able to listen to the episodes earlier than anybody else. And I am going to, I've only have one subscriber. Oh, bless her. I know who that is. She's a friend of mine from Liverpool. She's very supportive. And at the moment, I know that it's maybe not that attractive to people, because early access is not enough value for me, but I'm definitely planning on putting more content in there. Maybe doing sort of a debrief, where I talk about the cases, sort of my process of researching, editing, typing, everything. Sort of, chat with Christine or debrief with Christine. So those are the plans in there. And then my biggest sort of plan for my Patreon page is to maybe add another level where people can not only have early access, but also exclusive content about stories in the Filipino diaspora. And hopefully people will find that interesting as well. And that's one way to support the podcast and keep it going, in the years to come, really.
Well, I'm looking forward to season 2. It's proper like abangan.
Abangan na susunod na kabanata.
Exactly. I love it how you ended that.
Yes. So for season 2, definitely there are a few big name cases in there, but also I will try to feature cases that will hark back to the martial law era as well. So I think I'll feature the Mendiola massacre and some of the crimes that took place in the 70s as well. So I'll be featuring those as well, and some other ones that are quite recent, but I'm not prepared to divulge. So those are surprise cases. But I'm very excited. I've got it all planned out, and I've got the short hiatus now. So I've released my latest episode. Is it today? Yeah, today. And I'll have, I think, 4 weeks now of rest, but not really resting, just preparing for season 2. And hopefully people will still be there to support it. But who knows? I'm okay. I'm dropping things again. Oh my God. This is insane. Okay, I'm never moving in my life again. Honestly, this is somebody should restrain me. Like, posasan niyo na ako. Okay. I'm so sorry. This is the messiest live stream you've probably ever had.
No,
Don't worry. We have
Trust
kids.
us. We have kids.
Oh my goodness.
No.
We're running
Where
and out.
was I? So I was just gonna say, I'm just gonna hold this, or just like stop fidgeting. Um, third time's a charm, Glenda. Glenda, I believe
Yes.
that. That's why I'm holding it now to keep it safe. So I'm saying that even though I'm going to be on hiatus, who knows? There might be a surprise drop. I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, surprise lurking somewhere.
Nice.
So yeah, people should keep their eyes peeled and just keep supporting the podcast. Keep sharing it to everyone, anyone who would like to listen to Filipino true crime. And yeah, I'll make sure that even during the hiatus, I'm still going to post extra true crime content on
Mhm.
on Instagram. Interesting, the more you know type of content. I love those bits. And yeah, and hopefully people will be as excited as I am for the second season.
Mhm. So so you can follow Christine on Lagim podcast on Instagram. And I think we've got a post on our page where we put all the details where you
Yes.
all your socials.
Yeah.
And we'll share that later as well on our
Thank you very much.
our Instagram.
Yeah.
If you haven't you're available on YouTube as well, right? You can listen to the episodes on YouTube. So, so if you don't have Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can listen to the episode. I recommend start listening now tonight.
Yeah, listen tonight. Don't
Tonight.
get any sleep.
Listen
Don't
tonight.
get any sleep.
You've got the whole weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So start now, Friday night, true crime.
Yes.
Get that.
I mean, where else would you go? We're on lockdown. Come on.
Exactly. So start listening. Now,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine, for joining us. It's like we were really looking forward to this, and you see, we've gone 2 hours.
Oh my God!
But that's the thing. It's like it's such an interesting topic, and we're so like the way you've done it. It's amazing. Like I love it.
You've constructed it very well. Like I
yeah.
said, like anyone.
Sorry,
in the
it's gone dark here, by the way, because the blinds are, it's getting dark. But yeah, but I want to thank you guys for having me. We've communicated. Oh no, not the mic going again. We've communicated so much about this, and I'm a big admirer of what you're doing, and also featuring sort of Phil European, creators, because we're missing that sort of in the content creator world, in the Filipino content creator world as well. So I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for giving me this platform. Thank you for for all the chat people who I know that the guys have been talking about General Luna and everything. Guys, I might do something about that case as well as maybe as a bonus episode, because I myself a very sort of historical true crime has different hits differently, so I might do something about that as well. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for promoting this so profusely. I was very delighted about all the reels and the posts. You are amazing.
Yeah. Well, we enjoy it, and like we're just happy, like you said, that the whole purpose of this, we want people to have a platform. We want you as content creators, like to know, like to tell your story, and I think that's really important. And I love that, like you said, there's no one here in you, like you're doing this Filipino true crime is coming out of Europe, and that's amazing.
I didn't even realize, like, that's another unique selling point there. Like, okay.
You're the only European Filipino true crime.
I know, like,
the fact you can take the first Filipino true crime.
Featuring Phil, you know what? I need a new trailer. I need to integrate all this information. Don't tell them about how I dropped my microphone 1,000 times, though. like, what kind of podcaster are you? Dropping all your equipment. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm clumsy that way.
In your next episode, we're gonna hear like fumbling in the background.
I know.
Like,
and then me telling my editor, like, can you just delete all of that mess? Because I'm a hot mess, you know?
We'll know if there's fumbling in the background. Oh, she dropped her laptop.
Yeah,
Oh,
she dropped
her
again.
mic.
Christine, what are you doing with your life?
Literal mic drop.
But don't worry, you can edit it out.
So yeah, we're just gonna say thank you to our chat here.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
guys.
to everyone that's joined us. Glenda, Bong, Koi, Mugen, I think was here as well.
Yeah.
People that have been listening on YouTube and on Twitch as well. Because there are people that probably don't feel like chatting, but they're listening.
They're listening. All right.
So yeah, thank you. This has been a great episode. If are we raiding out into someone, or are we just
I don't know.
here on Twitch? You sometimes just go into someone else's room.
Channel.
Oh, okay.
Into someone's channel.
It's a bit quiet. We're good.
Is it quiet tonight? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chrissy, if you could just stay on and we'll say goodbye to everyone.
Sure thing. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you next time.